Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you somehow missed my last video, my last vlog, you may want to go watch it. I changed my hair drastically and I'm still very much getting used to it. But yeah, if you're like, who is this? Go watch that video. So it gives all the updates. I asked you guys on my Instagram and on a recent video if you wanted to see a financial related video from me, and a lot of you guys were super interested, so I wanted to kind of sit down today, have an open conversation and an honest conversation about money and talk about my financial goals for this year, kind of my long-term financial goals, how I've set up my accounts, what my system is, and hopefully this is helpful to you guys. And I'll also be answering some of your questions towards the end of the video that you guys submitted, so thank you so much for doing that if you did. I just want to start off the video saying that please do not compare your financial situation to anyone else's. Everyone is going through many different things and we're all on different paths with our savings, with our spending, with different debts and different things like that, and you just truly do not know kind of what goes on behind the scenes and stuff. So it can be super easy to compare, especially with Instagram and with YouTube and stuff. You see what people can afford, what people spend their money on, and it can be really difficult at times. Basically, all you can do is do your best. And so I try and remind myself that, so I wanted to just share that because it is so easy to get caught up in seeing what other people have when we should focus on what we have. I know with the internet how easy it is to compare yourself to someone else, and we need to stop doing that in so many aspects. So just wanted to preface this is just what I do, this is where I'm at in my life, this is how I like to save. And if you have any tips or things you want to share as this video moves on, feel free to share them in the comments if you have a good tip. If this is the first time you're seeing my face on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications. But I also wanted to give a background for those of you that may not know me and talk about kind of where I'm at in my life. So I'm 25 years old. I currently do not have any debt, which is fantastic. I actually paid off my $24,000 student loan last October, and I have a full video on that. I'll link it above here and in the description box. And that video just talks about how I was able to pay it off, kind of my savings plan, and kind of just how I went about paying that off. And I'm so happy that it's finally done because I feel like I can now start saving for like the rest of my life now that that's taken care of. So yeah, I don't currently have any debt. That is now all paid. I currently live in a 2-bedroom apartment in Vancouver with my boyfriend. We share rent, and I'll get into all of that kind of stuff later on, but we do not own this place. We rent it, and we don't have like a car payment. We have like a used car that we drive and we share it. And then as for my job, most of you guys, if you've been following me for a while, know that this is my full-time job. Content creation on YouTube and Instagram is my full-time job and has been for about the past 6 years, I think now. I'm honestly so lucky and so grateful that this is my job. I love it so much, and I truly wake up every single day being like, wow, I am so lucky to be in the position I am. So thank all of you. You are the reason I get to do this as a job, and I appreciate you guys so, so much. And a couple years ago, I actually incorporated my business. So instead of being just a freelancer, I now have a company that gets paid, and then I pay myself a salary out of that. I do not have any other employees in my business, but I pay myself a monthly salary. And the reason I wanted to incorporate just was because I think I was paying a lot of taxes with the Canadian government. Like, I felt like once a year I was paying just so much money to the government, and so I wanted to see if incorporating helped with that, and I think it has. And for actually paying myself a salary, that has been kind of interesting because that's only been like a new thing. It's been working out really well, and I think that it makes a lot more sense. It's weird to only get paid once a month, so I really have to be kind of strict with my spending and my saving once I pay myself, but also too, I wanted to make sure that I was paying myself instead of just keeping all of, well, majority of my money is in my business, but I wanted to make sure I was paying myself a salary because that can come up later down the line when you want to own property. You obviously have to be making money yourself. So I wanted to make sure I was doing that. And now for taxes, just to briefly touch on it, instead of paying one chunk at tax time, which was awful, I now pay quarterly, which is so much better, and it just feels a lot easier to manage, and I don't end up paying what feels like a lot at the end. So like I said, I pay myself once a month with a set amount for my salary. I pay my rent for the apartment, I pay all of my bills. A lot of the stuff I'm able to write off because of my business, which is really lucky. So a part of my rent, a part of the utilities, pretty much everything I buy. When I show you guys in vlogs, that can all be written off, which is super, super cool. And I just have to keep tabs. I do actually have 2 credit cards. I have a personal credit card and a business credit card. So anything for the business obviously gets put onto the business card, and anything personal gets put onto the personal card. And I actually just upped my limit on my personal card. I went into the bank and did that because I was pretty much spending the full amount. I have it quite low, and I was pretty much spending the full amount and then just paying it back every single month. And I thought that for increasing my credit score, because I want it to be good, I mean, it's pretty good right now, I check it on Credit Karma really often. If you guys don't have that app, not sponsored, but it's a really great app because you can just like attach it to your bank and then you can know your credit score. So I'm in really good standing, but I want to be better, if that makes sense. You can always be better. So I wanted to up my credit limit and still obviously just stay within that 50%. I know that there is definitely a percentage you're supposed to stay within. I wasn't really doing that. I was just more so only allowing myself to use what I was able to, if that makes sense. But now I trust myself enough with credit that I can now spend 50% and be a-okay. So when I pay myself my monthly salary, I immediately put 25% of that amount into a savings. This is kind of like my emergency rainy day fund. I never really had the chance to build this up, and I know it's super important to have. I've built it up a few times, but I've never really kept it up, if that makes sense, especially when I was paying off my student loan, because that was just like #1 priority. I really just wanted to pay that off. And so now I have the opportunity to build that fund up, and by the end of the year, I'm hoping to have that at like 10,000, maybe 12,000, because that seems like a really reasonable amount and like enough savings, whereas the other savings I have can go into TFSA and RRSP, which I'll talk about. So that's definitely goal #1 of this year, to build that account up so I feel good, we have a nice cushion, and I feel really safe with that. I also, because I had an auto deposit or an auto transfer onto my student loans, I immediately switched that with the same amount going into my TFSA. So I have my TFSA account and I also have RRSPs. And so RRSPs, I think it's like the 401k in America. That's like your retirement savings. And so I do also have that, which I'll touch on. But for my TFSA, I, again, haven't really had the chance to build that up, but now I have an auto deposit going into that every single month. And I really like having that set up because obviously with student loans, like it was just like going away, and it's really smart to just, I mean, I wasn't missing that money anyway. It was already going somewhere else, so might as well just put it right into savings where there's compound interest going in my favor. Apologies if the lighting or the setup changed. We've been having some technical difficulties, but I think we're good to go. So I think I left off, which I'm actually just going to restart. I'm going to talk about RRSPs, which is the Registered Retirement Savings Plan. So I've been putting money into my RRSPs for a couple years now, and I do have an auto deposit, auto transfer set up, so each month money comes out of my account, goes into my RSPs, and then closer to tax time I usually put a bigger chunk onto them. And I think that there is a limit when it comes to taxes as to how much you can put in every single year, and I try and do, I know, close to the max if I can. It's definitely a goal this year for me to do that, because when you have an RRSP account, that money can actually go towards the first home buyers plan loan. I'm not quite sure of the technical term, but essentially you can take money out of your RSPs and put that towards your down payment for your first home, and I think that's really great. So Cody and I are both working to build up that savings account. Cody's actually super lucky because his company will match up to a certain percent of what he puts into his RSPs, so they just match it, which is so great. It's literally free money. So if you have the option with the company you work for or at your work, please do it. It makes so much sense, and it's just a really great way to build that account faster. So that's pretty much how I've set myself up for hopefully financial success. I have money going into RSPs, I have money going into TFSA, I have money going into my emergency fund, emergency rainy day, whatever you want to call it. And then of course I pay off my credit card with the salary money that I get once a month and pay for all the things I need to pay for. So hopefully if you guys haven't set up all of these accounts, I did want to recommend this book that I have here. It's called The Financial Diet. If you don't follow them on Instagram already, please do. I'm like their #1 fan. I've done some financial workshops with them, like virtual ones where they have like workbooks and things. I actually did one recently about like money, I think it was money mindfulness, and I learned that I'm an Enneagram 6, and when it comes to money, it was super interesting. I basically am scared of the future, and I'm very much like a worrier. So I always want to have like a safety net, and I'm scared of like what could come up, if that makes sense. And that's always been the case when it comes to money and different things in my life, and I thought it was like spot on. If I can find the screenshot, I'll put it here because it was super interesting. If you're an Enneagram 6, maybe this will relate to you as well. If it is, please let me know. And I just thought it was so cool to relate that to money. So anyway, they do a lot of really cool workshops and things like that, but they also have this book, and I will link this down below because I really like the way that this was laid out. If you're new to finances, it's really, really great, very digestible, and the book itself is like really, really pretty. There's even like a cocktail recipe in here, but it does help you set up accounts. Like I said, I have so many different bank accounts for different things, and that's kind of what they suggest, and just like how to go about everything. And it was just a really, really great read. So if you're interested, I'll link it down below. It is based in the US, so if you are American, this is perfect for you. It all makes sense. If you're Canadian, you'll just have to like remember that things mean differently, but it's essentially all the same. So yeah, really highly recommend this book. I quite liked it. And then I wanted to mention the app that I use to track my spending. So I bank with TD. I've actually worked with them before, which is so cool, but I have been banking with them my entire life. I have both my business and my personal banking with them, and they have an app called My Spending. TD My Spend, that's what it's called. TD My Spend app, and it's so great because it tells you where you're spending your money, what category it's going into. You can kind of set limits and go above, and also too, it lets you know every single time something is charged on your account, so that's like a safety thing as well, which is really great. It's just a fantastic app. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure it only works if you're a TD customer, but I'm sure most banks have like something similar, so look into that if you haven't already because it's so helpful. It's kind of rude, kind of invasive, but it's important to be aware of where your money's going and being financially aware. Before we get into the Q&A segment, I wanted to just quickly lay out all of my financial goals for this year, kind of a little bit more organized because I briefly touched on some of them. Some of them are long-term, some of them are more short-term, nothing super strict, but the first one was I do want to build my savings account, my emergency fund to $10,000, maybe more dollars if I can, because that would be a nice cushion for me to have. I also want to continue to spend less on things. I feel like I made a lot of big purchases last year, which is kind of funny because we were all staying inside, and it was kind of nice because we weren't traveling, which was really great because I was able to save money on that once I actually got paid back for the trip that we did not take, which took forever, but I did eventually get paid back. I obviously lost some money, but not as much as I thought I would, so that's great. But we made some big purchases, like the couch that we bought last year. I mean, in my head, they're kind of big purchases. I don't think that I bought a new camera, like little things like that that just kind of add up. I want to do like less of that kind of spending this year and just try and save as much as I can. I obviously didn't spend as much on like clothing, it felt, which was really great. Beauty products, not so much, which was really fantastic, and I want to continue that because I feel like I'm doing a good job and I should keep going with that. One of my biggest financial goals, and is not going to happen for quite a few years, is to own property. We don't really know what we want yet because Vancouver is just so outrageously expensive. It just doesn't really make sense, and we love living where we do. We love this apartment and we love the location, so it just doesn't really make sense for us right now. And it doesn't mean that we can't just get our finances in order and like be really, really prepared for when that time comes. It's definitely not going to be happening for a couple years. Also too, I'm hoping we get married at some point before I'm 30. So I don't know what will happen first, but I know that obviously weddings are so expensive as well. So I'm kind of in the back of my mind thinking about that as well. And there's just like life things that are coming up that I just want to be in good financial standing to be able to afford and to do the way I want to. And like I said, we're kind of just building up our RSPs, saving our money, also making sure our credit score is good. We did also briefly talk to a mortgage broker to see if we're kind of doing everything correctly to set ourselves up for success later on, and she said yes, with having no debt and having no car payments and just like the way we have our account set up and our savings and RSPs and all that kind of stuff. So she kind of gave us the A-OK, which I feel really good about because like I said, it's not something that's going to happen within the next year, but I want to be prepared and I want to just like be ready for it when it comes. I'm going to grab some questions from Instagram now, and I wanted to start off because there was so many questions about budgeting, and I hate to tell you guys, but I don't budget. I'm not the kind of person that sets up a like certain amount of money to spend each month on groceries or like gas or things like that. I just make sure I save a % of my income, and then whatever is leftover. That's what I have. I track my spending, so I'm very much aware of where my money's going and how much I'm spending, especially when it comes to like the categories on that app. I'm able to be like, oh wow, I spent so much money on groceries this month or takeout or whatever it is, and be like internal, like, okay, you can cut back on that. That's basically how I budget, which isn't properly how I budget. So if you guys have good experience budgeting and you have some tips, you want to share them in the comments, please do. How do you avoid spending and save money? I have gotten to a point in my life, which I've come a long way because I love spending money, where I feel more like I feel a little bit more serotonin when I'm saving it than when I'm spending it, because it feels so good to see the number in your savings account go up versus the number on your credit card go up, if you know what I mean. And so it just kind of is that internal switch of like, oh, I'm not going to buy this one thing so I can buy this greater thing or this bigger thing or this more important thing later on. And I think that's kind of just a change of mindset helps you spend less and save more. How do you and Cody split up / combine your finances and purchases? This is a great question because I feel like with couples, it's kind of different for everyone. For us, rent is split. I do actually pay a little bit more because this second room is just mine, and it's also my work from home office and things like that, so it can be partially deducted from my company. And for like groceries and random everyday things, we pretty much just go back and forth. Like I pay for it one time, he pays for the next. If it's a big purchase, we sometimes split it. A lot of the home decor things and things like that I usually end up purchasing just because I'm the one that has a problem with it and I'm the one that like wants the change, so I usually end up paying for those. But like the TV and most electronical things are purchased from him. We also go in sometimes on camera equipment because he uses it too. So yeah, we basically just split everything 50-50 for the most part. Insurance for the car, pretty much everything is split 50-50. How do I eat healthy while also spending less? I thought this was a really good question because I recently have been trying to meal plan my meals for the day, not meal prep, but meal plan, and writing out every single thing you're gonna have. Either, I guess you could do all meals. We just do dinner because it's a lot easier and because breakfast and lunch is kind of random, but planning out actually what you're going to be making every single night for the week and only buying those things at the grocery store is so fantastic. Obviously, you're gonna need some things for snacks and different things like that, but instead of like actually just going to the grocery store and getting whatever and hoping it works together, like I know so many people have been doing this for years, but this is a really great system, and just like having a grocery list that you keep up with, making sure you are only buying the essentials is really, really key. And I feel like that is a great way to kind of limit your spending when you're at the grocery store, especially because you're like, oh, I want to try that. I want to try that. I'm really bad for that. But having a plan when you go in is always going to help. The next question is, how did you save up to move out? And I didn't. I did have 2 like part-time jobs in my final year of high school, so I saved a bit of money, but not really. And so I was living off of government money and student loans within my first 2 years, well, my 2 years of going to school. And so yeah, I was 17 at the time that I moved out, so yeah, I had no savings, and neither did my parents for the most part, so that's why I had student loans. The next question is, would you rather have a home together or get engaged / married? And I used to think that we would definitely have an apartment that's ours or like have property before we got married, but with the whole, I don't know, everything that's happened this past year, I think that we'll probably end up getting married before we buy property, just because I feel like that will come sooner. I don't know. Hard to say. But also too, we're very comfortable where we are. Like I mentioned, we like the location, we like the apartment, and it just kind of makes sense for right now. So in this moment, at this time, I definitely see us getting married first. But who knows? Already touched on this, but is there an app or tool that you're using to track expenses / finances? Like I said, the TD My Spend app is the one I use, but I think also Mint is a good one. I'll try and find some, and if I am successful, I'll link them down below. How to consistently save money? I definitely recommend getting into the habit of saving a % of everything that comes into your bank account. Doesn't matter where it's coming from, if someone's paying you back, if you're getting money from like Poshmark or selling things on top of your regular like salary or whatever, definitely save a %. It can be as low as 10%, 15, 20, 25. Just set an amount that is manageable for you, that still allows you to be able to afford all the things you need to afford, but you're also consistently saving. And I swear that helps so much that it's just like an automatic thing. You get money in, you save a %, and then you don't really have to think about it, and then you're in the habit of it. Do you invest in stocks? And if so, do you have any tips? I feel like this is such a hot topic of conversation recently, and it's something I'm super new to. I actually downloaded, I think it's Wells Trade, and I put like $50 on it just to like start playing with it. Obviously it's a gamble. Don't take my advice on any of this. It's all risky, if that makes sense, and it's not really a important thing to me right now. I'm really trying to build up the safer ways to save money, like my RSPs and TFSAs, before I start playing with the stock market. I'm definitely super interested in learning more about it and playing around, but I'm not quite there yet. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I don't know much, and so it's something I'm, like I said, super excited to learn about, but I want to get my other accounts and everything kind of in tip-top shape before I do that. Well friends, I think that's where I'm going to leave this video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know it was super casual and basically just me chatting the whole time, but hopefully you guys maybe learned something, got a little bit of inspo to save some of your money. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up because it really helps and supports my channel. You guys have no idea, but it really does, and I really appreciate it. So yeah, I love you guys so much. I'm pretty sure my next video will be a vlog, so I'll see you guys then. Have a great day. Bye.